Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. Bob and Phil here. Guys, we're going to talk Bitcoin. Lots of volatility. Is 69K going to hold? We're going to talk about it in this video. Let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
Hey everybody, it's Bob with Trade Genius. Usually I do fun ads. I talk about our service, but I want to be serious with you for a second. We've been helping a lot of people trading for a long time. As you can see here, I want to let them do the talking for me for a change. But most importantly, we want to help you too. If you've not joined our service yet, come check us out, tradelikeagenius.com. Full service. We have chat room. We have the algorithms for you. We give trades out every day. We educate you. So go to tradelikeagenius.com. Check us out. What you get out of our service is much, much more than what you put into it. And we'd like to see you in the room. Thanks for listening.
All right, Bob. So Bitcoin ran up into that Ethereum ETF announcement, pulled back actually before the announcement. We got the approval yesterday. Ethereum BTC ratio, very lethargic response, but that could just be like the hangover from the announcement like we saw with BTC. However, BTC on Friday getting a good pump, and maybe that final breakout over the previous all-time high is happening. What do you think?
Yeah, I try to avoid listening to as much news as I can to affect my trades. And the first chart we're going to put up here, this is how we trade. And I'll explain it for those people have seen these charts before. So this is the Bitcoin USD chart. I use a 4-hour as my preference. And then what I like to look for here, you see that purple or magenta bar underneath the price level. That's a Fibonacci retrace support area. It can also become resistant when it flips the other way. And what I like to look for is setups where you see the shaded blue with the white line crossing with price, is that if we're above that magenta line and we get a signal from those black looks like ovals, those are reversal areas that you should buy. And what was interesting to me, Phil, two things, and then I'll let you comment, is that we never really lost the fib retracement support as we climbed up and we pulled back, number one. And number two is it's a classic move when you go down into that support zone like we have, kind of break through it, come back up, we call it a peekaboo view, and then we get the reversal signal hitting here on the 4-hour. So what that tells me, or I'm informed, is that I have my stop now underneath that line that was about 2 or 3 days ago where you see those little black triangles, and then my first target is the blue line and my second target is that red line above it if you're trading it. But I think it's very bullish. The second thing I will say, Phil, is that resistance that got broken earlier in the week, it came back and tested as support. I think that's huge. It's kind of putting a floor under the price. I'd like to get your thoughts before we go into the next chart.
Yeah, a couple days ago I said, look, 69K is important, right? Previous all-time high. And once you consolidate around that, you don't want to fade the breakout move. So we saw a breakout over it. In the past, that has usually been very stingy in terms of pullbacks. Now, maybe the Ethereum ETF positioning gave us a bigger pullback than we would have normally have seen, right? We got down to below 67K. Now we're getting a bounce out of that. 69K, just to be clear, really we want to see the weekly closes start happening above that. So weekly closes on Sunday. You guys are watching this on Saturday, so we'll have to see how that happens. Weekly closes on a crypto chart is 8 p.m. Eastern. So you want to watch price there. If we're over 69K on a weekly closing basis, I think that's extremely bullish. And I think we're still on pace to get our breakout. So that would mean that we start attacking 74K as we start getting into the June timeframe, Bob. So, and then from there, I think that's really green lighting ultimately a move over 100K. So it's a little, it seems a little daunting when you're in the middle of the lower time frame charts, but your 4-hour template here with the range trader buy zone, that's exactly the stuff that you expect to see when you're going to continue to make higher highs and higher lows. You'll notice that it's been a while since we've broken that ranger buy band, and we had a nice clean bounce off it, which we've seen numerous times. Very classic setup here. So expecting us to actually go attack that upper blue line now.
Yeah, and next chart I want to show you is for people that want to trade Bitcoin but don't want to have a Bitcoin account and don't want to try to manage their own wallets and all that other stuff is BITO. And this is the way I trade it. And BITO is really interesting to me, Phil, because it's also painting out a inverted head and shoulders, okay? And so Bitcoin, BITO is basically the long Bitcoin ETF, and it's a really nice trading vehicle. It has a cousin called BITI, so you can actually trade Bitcoin both ways if that's your preference. But I think in this environment, we can't overthink this move coming because when it comes, it may come really fast. And once it gets up that way, FOMOing can be dangerous. So, right now, the signal is, again, we're in buy to dip mode with BITO. It broke right through resistance. It made a higher high from that previous mark there at the end of April. And it looks like we're ready to get a reversal signal in BITO too, Phil. And for me, when that happens, then I'm looking for that thing to stair step up into the probably $32, $33 area short term. And then once it does that, it'll break out with Bitcoin to all-time highs.
And Bob, you like BITO because this is actually the derivative ETF, not the spot. You like it because just the better moves?
Yeah, I like it because I want to trade it more. And also, me personally, I've had a lot of trouble with, Coinbase account and all these other accounts, and I'm just too busy. So I don't want to go over to a Bitcoin and trade Bitcoin, so I said, hey, this is the second best way than owning Bitcoin itself. And, as you know, Phil, I'm even larger in the Bitcoin proxies such as Misty and Coney. And so I think this gives me a one-stop shop to get my exposure to the value that Bitcoin's going to derive. And so that's why I trade it. It has nothing to do with me liking or not liking Bitcoin physical itself. It's an easier way for me to trade. I feel the same way about physical gold and silver. I rather trade the miners or the proxies that way too.
And you like it over the spot ETFs that were just recently approved?
I do, because it's easy for me to monetize my investment. And people have to realize too, I view every asset that I own, it's only worth something to me if I can monetize it in real time. So
is that because call options are available on BITO?
Yeah, call options are available.
That makes a lot of sense.
And that's why I like it.
Got it.
Yeah, no, I said sorry for the long explanation. But yeah, I like to monetize it. That's why it has call options, has dividends, easy for me to trade.
No, that makes perfect sense. Now, if the spot ETFs have options, are you going to play with those?
I might. I'm just comfortable with these right now. But I think what's happening, Phil, is absolutely awesome. Bitcoin's going to have a really sophisticated, that whole ecosystem is going to be really sophisticated for trading. And I think it's going to, as it matures and it gets out into the retail space, you're going to see a lot of opportunities. I mean, the yield max people are coming up with Ybit. Now we got an Ethereum ETF, and I think this whole thing is now playing out as we thought it would. Everybody thought that, the United States was going to ban Bitcoin. I think these guys absolutely recognize that we're going to have some sort of relief valve for money coming out of fiat because the government is hell-bent on creating unlimited supply of it.
Yeah, and we've had some very bullish developments too in terms of the legislation, right? There was SEC got overturned. Well, it looks like they're going to get overturned. The House passed the bill. I'm sure at this point with the political environment switching to pro-crypto really fast, but basically the banks can custody Bitcoin. Why that matters a lot is it's going to absolutely allow more liquidity get into the ecosystem. So expect more market cap to be added to Bitcoin and the stronger crypto plays. But also too, I think that the brokerages will be able to take Bitcoin. Now, again, you have a philosophy of whether or not you want to hold your own Bitcoin. But if you have, let's say, enough where you could allocate some to send over to a brokerage, they can actually collateralize that. And then you can also now get yield on your Bitcoin through those yield max products, basically using your Bitcoin as collateral. So it opens up a lot of things here. And, that's kind of been the holy grail with Bitcoin is how do you make your Bitcoin yield without actually selling it? And there's, different approaches. You can kind of do the real estate investor type, debt deferral, tax deferral type of thing where you borrow against it because borrowing against your Bitcoin doesn't incur taxes. You can live off of it, but you do have a debt roll that at some point you'll have to deal with. But with the compound annual growth rate of Bitcoin as it is, typically that means that debt ratio is actually going to shrink over time. So it's not something you have to deal with for a long, long time until Bitcoin levels off at whatever, 1 million or something like that. So that's one option, but that's always been the holy grail. And I think this legislation opens up a lot more opportunities for that. So agree that future looks bright. I think we're going to have a very bright future in the short term. We're going to go through some malaise, and then I don't know how you can be bearish going into the end of the decade though, because I just think the expansion on these products, especially with the limited supply of Bitcoin, is going to send it much, much, much higher. But you're going to have probably one last dip to grab it in 2025.
Yeah, and look, and that's why I like Misty over Coney. I like Square over Coney. I like BIT over Coney. Even though I have Coney right now, I just think that Coinbase is going to get a lot of competition from the big banks at some point. So, why custody with them if JP Morgan comes pushing into the bull ring, right? Because they're going to see all that free money from managing those assets. And I think maybe the good news is Coinbase will get bought out at some point. I view like MicroStrategies and Square as basically companies that are sitting out there and they know the freeway intersection is coming their way and that land value is going to be priced much, much higher. I'm looking at MicroStrategy 2000, I think is going to be in the bag. You know what that means for you if you own Misty? In the short term, you're going to make another $15 on the stock. And plus you're going to get paid out, $2 to $3 a month per share on dividends. I mean, where do you get these kind of yields? I mean, these are insane kind of yields. And it's always been available for rich people to do these kind of trades. And now this stuff's being pushed down into retail. And I think it's about time. And it's a good way for you to diversify your portfolio, and especially owning something that people are going to run to when the government is going to continue to print ad infinitum.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, guys, well, let us know your thoughts on our video today. Do you think Bitcoin is ready to rocket ship out of here and head toward 100K? Let us know your thoughts below. If you guys need help navigating these markets, we'd love to see you in the room with us. Head over to tradegenius.co and check out our specials over there. Bob, thanks. We'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.
Trade Genius.